Let's turn to trade. Today, President Trump signs 2 executive orders cracking down on unfair trade deals, according to senior White House officials. The first order researches and points out trade abuses that add to the U.S. trade deficit. The second order addresses non-payments of anti-dumping and anti-subsidy duties on imports. Joining me now is the White House trade advisor, Peter Navarro. Peter, good to see you this morning. How are these orders going to change trade with the United States?
Well, let's start with the customs duty order. This is a long festering problem going back to 2001. We have these things called anti-dumping and countervailing duties that are imposed against cheaters. Dumping is when a company or government sends products here at below their cost. The subsidy angle, the countervailing duty angle, is when a foreign government heavily subsidizes their industry and attacks ours. So what the Department of Commerce has done historically is file these cases. There are almost 400 cases that are active right now, and it's 40 countries. And so what's happening, ironically, is that the products come into our country, steel, chemicals, machinery, agriculture, and we don't collect the duties. It's $2.8 billion over the last 15 years we haven't been collecting. So what this executive order does is basically provide Customs and Border Protection with all the tools it needs to collect this money. And it's not just about revenues. It's also about the fact that when we don't collect the revenues, our industries continue to remain at a disadvantage. What I like about this order, besides the fact that it's great on trade and economics, is it's a beautiful example of interagency cooperation in the new Trump administration. We had Secretary of Commerce Wilbur Ross, Secretary of Homeland Security Kelly, the Customs and Border Commissioner Kevin McAleenan, all worked together to get this done in a swift way. So this is good for America.
Peter, there's always a why now. And these orders are coming just a week before President Trump meets with Chinese President Xi Jinping in Florida. They're expected to discuss, of course, trade extensively. President Trump even tweeted yesterday, of course he did, the meeting next week with China will be a very difficult one, and that we can no longer have massive trade deficits and job losses. American companies must be prepared to look at other alternatives. Are these 2 orders, Peter, at least a warning shot to China to say, hey, we're ready to get tough?
Let me be very clear about this. These 2 orders have nothing to do about the China trip, nothing to do with China. What we have here with these 2 orders, with the customs and duty order, there's 40 countries that are cheating the American people. And my job at the White House is to defend our workers, defend our manufacturers, and this kind of order does that. On the other order, which is historic in a different way, which is looking at the trade abuses, Wilbur Ross is going to look at about 16 different countries with which we run significant trade deficits. China is just one of them. There's Mexico, there's Japan, there's Germany, which we have very significant deficits with. Ireland and Vietnam, actually, we have the highest deficits with when you look at the volume of two-way trade, when you adjust for that. What these deficits do, look, we are the freest trading nation in the world. On balance, we have the lowest tariffs and the lowest non-tariff barriers, yet we run these enormous trade deficits. So what Wilbur Ross and his team are going to do with the U.S. Trade Representative's office is look comprehensively at all of the different ways that we are getting that deficit, whether it's differential tariffs, whether it's non-tariff barriers, whether it's currency misalignments, whether it's forced technology transfer or intellectual property theft. And in 90 days, Wilbur Ross is going to deliver to the President's desk the results of that investigation, and importantly, this report will basically provide the guidance and foundation for future trade actions. And it's historic because no president has ever looked at the trade deficit and trade abuses in this way.